All right, welcome back to TEW Impact for week 4 of June 2022. We are just coming off of Slammiversary. If you tuned into Slammiversary, thanks. That was a big show for me. Definitely at least for like what I've been building towards at least, for uh the first part of the year. Still have a few months to go for Bound for Glory, but considering we have 20 years of Impact to pay tribute to, I guess, for Slammiversary. And Slammiversary is the second biggest show of the year behind Bound for Glory. Definitely wanted it to be big, and hopefully it did. We'll go into the news here in a little bit. Um, Kind of cramming this recording in between Christmas celebrations and not sure when I'll get to editing this. I still got a week work of left before Christmas vacation, so it might be closer to Christmas by the time this actually gets out. So, Merry Christmas to those of you who celebrate. Happy Hanukkah, happy holidays, anything you celebrate, you don't celebrate. Uh, Overall, just, relax, have a good time, spend time with family. If you don't have family, uh, find a family that'll let you hang out with them and, I don't know. There's my sappy holiday speech for you guys if I don't get one in uh before the end of the year. But like I said, before I guess take my extended break, I decided to go into 2 more weeks of Impact before we go into all or against all odds. These shows I think maybe might be shorter. They're, I don't want to say they're like filler, but considering we ended a lot of segment or ended a lot of storylines at Slammiversary, this will kind of uh see the beginning of some new ones, or at least the gears turning towards what we could see at Bound for Glory. But yeah, like I said, so we got this week, and then that'll put us into July, and then we'll have another week of Impact, and then against all odds. So yeah, enough talking. Let's just go to the news. So for our Slammiversary news, we don't really have a ton of news overall, considering we got like the first half of the week before Slammiversary, so not a lot of news otherwise from Slammiversary or besides Slammiversary and some of the related news. So overall, it did a 46, which was kind of disappointing, especially it was actually down from Under Siege last month. But our other numbers are good. Our pay-per-view buy rate is 0.63, up from 0.56 last month, and then attendance was 1571, up from 1400. So, um bringing in Samoa Joe may not have bumped up our ratings that much, but it did, at least we get a buy rate and attendance hike. So, hopefully that means, we're making money. That's really all that matters, I guess. So Slammiversary, unfortunately not our best show, our third best show. So behind Impact a couple weeks ago from June week 2, which was 48, and then Under Siege last month's pay-per-view, which was 47, and then Slammiversary, which is a 46. Um the Ultimate X match between the Wolves and the Machine Guns is tied for our best match so far, with the Wolves versus the Good Brothers from that Impact June Week 2 show tying. Both had a 53 in quality. And then also in Slammiversary match rating news, the X title 3-way, Swerve versus Bailey versus Bay, um tied for our sixth best match, but that's also the same with about seven other matches that had got a 49 quality. So, I don't remember. I kind of wanted to put this in context of like our top 10 matches so far, but like I think, we have two tied for one, and then maybe I know a few other having ties, and then like number six, but that's like seven other matches. So more like our best, like 15 or 20 matches, but still a good showing from our exhibition guys. Um, Impact news coming out of Impact, probably the big news from Slammiversary, other than Samoa Joe losing in the main event, was the return of Jeff Jarrett. Um, I decided to bring him into Impact. It's not like he's going to have any sort of business role. He's just been brought in as talent. So, but we will play off that. But we did give him a written contract for 1 year, on a per show basis, $240 per show. So not that expensive when you factor in some of our other names. And also he is considered like a major star for the Southeast region. So for his cost, he's already real like slated as like our top star. I think like our top stars are like Jarrett, Joe, but Joe will be leaving, which we'll get into later. Alex Shelley, which I think Alex Shelley might be more over than Samoa Joe at this point, and Eddie Edwards pops up in that, like figurehead possibility. But yeah, we're trying to get Josh Alexander up there as our champ, but slowly but surely, I guess. But Jarrett, it's only for his appearances for only for impacts and pay-per-views. He is usable as an occasional wrestler, a personality, and a road agent. A reminder that he did announce his retirement. Like I mentioned before, retirement may mean in-ring retirement. It may mean walking away from the business itself altogether. I am hoping that when he retires, said to retire August week 3, that he retires, just from um, in-ring duties, I guess. So basically, we bring him back, probably give him like one last big match for his retirement, and then if he does not like leave the business altogether, which I doubt he will, we can probably still use him as a road agent. And something I just remembered, I didn't want to point it out when I was recording it, but if anyone wants to go back uh, in the Slammiversary main event, when I clicked on the various Booker notes or whatever, anyone with an eagle eye will see that Jeff Jarrett road agented that match. So I saw it when I was recording it, but I quickly uh, got away from it. I didn't want to, you know, point attention to it and then blow the surprise for Jarrett's return. But he did road agent the Josh Alexander versus Samoa Joe match. And it could be seen briefly if you really want to go back and look. But if you don't, I don't blame you. Speaking of Samoa Joe, his agreement runs out after tonight's Impact. Um, we did, like I mentioned before, we only had him signed up for a month, and then we are done with him. We extended a contract renewal for Raj Singh. It was like the last day that we could send or at least extend the renewal. He hasn't accepted it yet, but I'm sure he probably will. And then we just went bleh, I can't talk right now. We just went ahead and released Havoc. It's not that she was like a huge negative to the overall backstage morale, but um, it wasn't helping either. And we didn't really have a use for her. There's plenty of other new talent we could bring in her place if we need to. So, uh, no more Havoc. Um, Other news. We do have some title changes, so that was mostly the news coming out of everywhere else. I think this is like overall the main news that came out in between Slammiversary and now. For WWE, Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre defeated RK Bro on Raw to win the Raw Tag Team titles. On NXT, Roderick Strong regained the Cruiserweight title by defeating Ikemen Jiro in his first defense of the title. It's Roderick's second reign with the belt after losing it, I think, like a few weeks ago to Jiro. Shane McMahon extended his contract, and Candy Floss extended her developmental contract with NXT UK. For AEW, Sammy Guevara extended his handshake deal. MLW extended the handshake deals of TJP and Julius Smokes. And then for 0-1, Masa Kitamiya defeated Masato Tanaka to win the vacant World Heavyweight Championship, which was vacated by Takashi Sugiura when he retired May week 4. It is Kitamiya's first title reign. And then retirements. Didn't have a lot, but some big names in this list. Keiji Muto, El Satanico, Dr. Wagner Jr., Jinsei Shinzaki, Bully Ray, and before you ask, no, I'm not bringing him in for a final run. His current Impact stuff right now is bad enough. Theodore Long and Amber O'Neal have all announced their retirement, and then Rory McAllister's retirement has gone into effect. I think that's it for news. I think this just goes back into before the impact. We did have some news from before the impact. Well, before the impact. Our backstage incidents. Chelsea Green was brought before Wrestler's Court. Had a small positive impact on Chelsea, but I think she's still like annoyed or irritated. Um, Ever since her heel turn went belly up and hasn't really gotten better since. But referee Brian Stifler did cartoons, so that helped. Um, I think our overall morale is like at a 90. It kind of goes back and forth between 89 and 90, so it's not like something we have to worry about. The people that are still like annoyed or irritated are mildly negative influences, but the positives definitely um outweigh the negatives. And then something that I screwed up. Tonight's show will also be coming from Memphis, Tennessee. The same place as Slammiversary before because I forgot to change the venue or select a new one before booking before the impact. When then that selection if you have two shows in the same night like I am now, I run before the impact and impact the same night. So if you select it for before the impact, it's your selection for impact. So I forgot to do that, and I normally just do a generic venue because, who really cares? I know it's kind of cheating, but I'm just here for booking. Um I think, we'll kind of see, I guess we'll see if that helps booking an actual venue. Maybe I don't see cuz I know our impacts we only get like between 300 and 400, but our pay-per-view was expecting, we got like 1500. So, you know, having like 3 to 400 people in a 2000 seat venue would probably look weird, but whatever. Let's just run with it. We don't really have a choice, but let's go to the before the impact results. We start off with Raj Singh and Shera defeating Larry with a D and Falaba. I think I had botched interference by Caleb with a K because afterwards we did a heel turn. Falaba turning heel, attacking Larry D and Caleb with a K, laying them out. and walking off on his own, not um really down with their antics. The heel turner was a success for once. I did go in my settings and I turned off the setting to disable, or I disabled the I guess the penalty for like poor heel turns, because since we've had so many, I'm really getting sick of them, failing. But I did have it set like pretty far in advance and just pulled the trigger now, so this one went well. I can't guarantee other ones will, but I hope that turning off that setting will at least, mitigate some of the stupid morale droppage. And then we had a segment between Mance Warner and Danhausen. Basically, like I mentioned, Danhausen, the briefcase holder for the X Division title shot. But he is angry that the briefcase is not filled with human money. So Mance Warner attempts to buy the briefcase off of him, but when he reveals that he only has like $5, Danhausen is not interested. So funny haha segment for them. And then we get Madison Rain and Brandy Lauren arguing, more so Madison yelling at Brandy about basically getting pinned instantly in the Knockouts Gauntlet match, and Madison not even, getting in the match. And she's basically calling Brandy a disappointment and knows that she is not a fan of Killer Kelly, but it's not going to matter because Madison is pitting Kelly, Killer Kelly versus Brandy Lauren next week on Before the Impact, which Brandy Lauren is not a fan of. And then new digital media champion Zhao Zia defeated Masha Slamovich in her first title defense to uh, end out Before the Impact. Overall rating of 30. Really just kind of getting Zhao on, the show, but could not fit her or any sort of segment into Impact. Because as you'll see, this episode of Impact is very angle heavy. Um, I it it made sense to me on paper when I was booking it, but I could even tell then it was going to be angle heavy. When I actually booked the show, I saw how angle heavy it really was, and not gonna say that doesn't make sense, but uh, like I said, we have storylines ending, new storylines starting, some continuing, so you know, we're making movies. So yeah, let's just go to Impact. All right, so before the show starts proper, well, basically the start of the show, before we get into our opening, video, our opening, music video or credits, if you will, we see Gail Kim backstage and she is approached by Matt Stryker. This is kind of meant to, be before the show starts. And immediately Stryker's buttering, Gail Kim up. He's like, "Oh, congratulations on, maintaining order of Impact, and might I say you are looking ravishing tonight, blah blah blah." And Gail's like, "Cut the crap. I know you're, on Maria's side. You tried interfering in Lethal Lockdown, and, I don't know why you're even bothering talking to me right now, but what do you want?" And Stryker is like, "I hate to ask you for a favor. I know I'm not, your favorite person right now, but, I really do not like this Ian Riccaboni kid. He is definitely hogging my spotlight, hogging my, time on the uh at the commentary table, and I just want to ask you if you could let him go or at least set him aside. It really is, you know, messing up the dynamic of the commentary table, and Gail's like, you know what? With the stuff you pulled, you know, I have no reason to fire Ian. He's been doing a great job, and if anybody, you're the one I should let go of after the stuff you pulled at Lethal Lockdown. But I'm gonna give you a chance. And against all odds, I'm booking you two in a match. And Matt is like kind of taken aback. He's like, "Oh, well, I know I used to be a wrestler, but it's been, even though it's been a few years, I could definitely kick his ass." And Gail Kim's like, "No, I'm not booking a match between you two. You two are commentators. I'm not booking you two in the match, but you both, for at against all odds, you both are going to pick a representative to represent you in a match at against all odds, and whoever's representative loses, that commentator is going to be let go." So Matt Stryker has to pick a wrestler, Ian Riccaboni has to pick a wrestler, and they are going to have a match at against all odds, and whoever loses, the representative, um, the commentator is let go. And she gives both men till next week to make their choices. And Gail says good luck and leaves Stryker. And then we get our opening credits, segment rating of 31. And then we start the show off with Ace Austin versus Willie Mack. Um, Ace Austin, the winner of the world title shot from Feast or Fired, comes out with the briefcase, comes out with Madman Fulton. Fulton pokes his nose in the match, but it's basically just a distraction for Ace Austin to use his briefcase as a weapon to knock out Willie Mack and get the pinfall victory. Segment rating 944, segment rating of 39. And then we basically get a post match promo from Ace Austin basically saying that he's the future. He is inevitable. He is going to be the future world champion someday, and this briefcase is proof. Segment rating of 34 for his promo. We go backstage to Gia Miller, who is interviewing Rich Swann. Gia Miller wants to know what happened between Rich Swann and Su Yung during Feast or Fired at Slammiversary. If you remember, Rich Swann was reaching for a briefcase, and Su Yung came out of nowhere, misted him, and disappeared. Rich goes on the record. He's like, I know it's not a secret, but Sue, my wife, was at home taking care of our newborn baby, born, I don't remember when it was born, but she was, at home taking care of our baby. I flew out. I came to Slammiversary, didn't know anything was going on. Sue came out, misted me. I look for her all during the show, can't find her. I fly home. She's taking care of our baby like nothing happened. And I don't know what happened. She claims, she's been at home this whole time taking care of our baby, but I was reaching for a briefcase, and I could have the world championship title shot right now. And Gia corrects Rich. She's like, well, the briefcase you were reaching for was later grabbed by CPA who got fired. So, in a way, Sue saved you by misting you. If you had gotten that briefcase, you would have been fired. And that news, finally reaches Rich Swann, and he's just kind of like, huh, okay. And then he just kind of stumbles off stunned. So, realizing that, Su Yung misted him, in essence saved his job, kind of turns things into a new light. So segment rating of 28 for that. Meanwhile, we go to backstage. Basically, shot later or earlier in the day. We see Brian Myers, Avery Good, and VSK kind of all congregating in the parking lot before they go into the Impact taping, and so does CPA. CPA joining along like nothing happened, and everyone's just kind of like, "Oh, like, weren't you fired at Slammiversary?" And Nick's like, "Well, yeah, but what does that matter?" And Myers like, "No, you were fired. You're not allowed in the building." And CPA is kind of like, "Well, doesn't that mean I at least get a goodbye speech or anything?" And Myers is like, kind of sighs to himself. He tells Avery and VSK to go inside. He'll catch up with them later, and he's like, I gotta have a one-on-one with you, CPA. I'm sorry to tell you this, but you're fired. You don't have a job. There's nothing to be ashamed of. I've gotten fired from my dream job twice now. But you do what you gotta do. You go, somewhere else. You learn a new hold, and that's that. And CPA is just kind of deflated. Is like, that's it. That I don't get a go away speech. Is like, no. Some people, lots of people don't. So, and CPA is just kind of like, well, do you at least have any advice for me? And Myers is like, nope, not really. See it, we'll see you down the road. And Myers just turns and walks into the building, and CPA is just kind of left out in the parking lot and just kind of like, see you down the road. That's it. That's all I get. And then he just kind of, walks away dejected. So, segment rating of 26. Um, the learning tree, down to 3 because no more CPA. CPA is fired. He's jobless now. So, we're going to try to put him in a storyline and try to get him over with this, but he doesn't have a job, so we'll see what's next for the adventures of CPA, I guess. Um, and then finally, in yet another segment, finally trying to wrap up all the Feaster fired shenanigans. Um, we see Johnny Swinger. He's at the uh, Swinger's Palace. I don't have Zicky or Johnny Bravo, but Johnny Bravo does show up in here. But basically, Swingers going around like running around this casino trying to keep things in order. Hernandez eventually walks in with his briefcase that he won the tag title shot for at Feast or Fired. And Swinger's like, "Oh, Daddy, you're here finally. We need the pit boss to keep things in order. So but before you do that, you mind telling me what your plans are for that tag title shot? I know you could go with Zicky. Zicky's a cool guy, but I gotta suggest, I used to be a tag team champ a long time ago. Back when this place started, I was one of the first. And he's talking, and he's like, "So what are you gonna do about that tag title shot? I know you want to hold on to it, maybe, but." And eventually Hernandez just like puts his hand up. He's like, I'm sorry. You know, it's been fun, but I got some things I want to do. I got some things I gotta do, and I'm sorry. I'm leaving." And Swinger's like, "What? We need a body. We need the bodyguard to guard the place and everything." And Hernandez is like, I know, but I got some things I gotta do. It's been fun. I wish you guys all the luck. So Hernandez goes off. Swinger's just kind of like, oh, now what? So now Swinger is also dejected too. But at least he's still employed, unlike CPA. But segment rating of 29 for that. Johnny Bravo helped a little bit. So now, you know, not only are the learning tree down one member, but so are Swinger and his crew. And then we go to an actual match. Holy crap. We get the Aussie Invasion of the knockout champions, still knockout tag team champions, still the inspiration of Cassie Lee and Jessie McKay and Tennille Dashwood versus Quinn McKay, Rachel Ellering, and Roxy. Tennille getting a measure of revenge from losing, or at least getting pinned by Quinn McKay in the pre-show match of Slammiversary. Now she is able to at least pin Quinn McKay back. However, with nefarious means by cheating. Uh, Segment rating of 37 for this. So Tennille is, I guess slowly getting back in the good graces of the rest of the Aussie invasion. We shall see what comes of that. Meanwhile, backstage, we are kind of joined in progress by the gospel of violence, knocking out or basically pounding someone down. And eventually we realize that they are engaged in a 2-on-1 attack on Dalton Castle. Again, if you remember from Slammiversary, Dalton Castle got the win over Tyler Bateman in that impromptu 4-on-4 tag match, and this is their measure of revenge. Gospel of Violence laying out Dalton Castle backstage. Segment rating of 29. And then we get Jeff Jarrett coming out to the ring with a microphone and a guitar, and he wants to make an announcement. He knows, he basically admits, it's been 20 years and he started this, 20 years ago, and seeing Impact celebrate its 20-year anniversary, he couldn't stay away. And he feels good to be back, but he wants to clarify that he is not in any sort of ownership situation or anything like he was before. He's not coming to take over Impact. He's just here. It was like he's not even here to necessarily run Impact. He feels that Gail Kim is doing a fine job of it already. What he is here to do is to keep the peace and keep things running smoothly. And when things aren't running smoothly, that's when he will appear with his guitar to dispense justice. Case in point, the end of Slammiversary, where he planted Scott D'Amore with a guitar. Um, he makes the announcement. It was decided by Gail Kim and others that Scott D'Amore will officially be let go from Impact. Jeff agrees and he says that um, he made his choice between Impact and NXT, and he feels that if you are on the side of Impact, you need to dedicate 100% of your time to Impact, and anyone knowing full well that Scott D'Amore now, under the employ of, NXT and WWE as a whole, he's been there before, and he knows that they will use up all of your, time and your power as much as they can. He knows that Scott D'Amore would not be able to split his duties. So Scott D'Amore officially out of Impact. Have him here. I wanted him to be off screen. He's technically on screen for the segment, and Jeff Jarrett is officially firing him. But you know, kind of imagine that the official farewell of him was that guitar shot from at Slammiversary. But Jeff Jarrett making the announcement: no more Scott D'Amore. He is gone. He has made his choice, and that choice was NXT, not Impact. So that gives a segment rating of 37. All right, we go backstage to the Maria Can LLC locker room. I only have Maria, Michael, Bennett and W. Morrissey listed here, but just imagine that, everyone on the team is there. Um, Maria's like, okay, we lost Lethal Lockdown. I can't buy out Impact, but, you know, there's always a plan B. We can go with plan B. And the way I see it, whoever is the Impact World Champion controls Impact. So our new focus is uh gaining control of the Impact World Championship. And she says that tonight's main event match was made. It's a four-way match, one fall. It's called a second chance dream match. It's made up of four men who had previously had shots against Josh Alexander in recent weeks slash months. Um, Hence the second chance. The dream match is whoever wins that match will get to choose whoever wins gets a world title shot against Josh Alexander at against all odds. And then the dream match part is that they not only get the title shot, but they also get to choose the stipulation. So they reveal that the competitors are Michael Bennett, W. Morrissey, PCO, and or not Josh, Jonathan Gresham. So that's your main event, four way. Whoever wins that wins a title shot at against all odds. And Maria says they need to figure out strategy. And the way she sees it, uh, she knows Michael Bennett and W. Morrissey are both in the match and both won a title shot. But she says that we need to stick to a plan, unlike Lethal Lockdown, and we need to make sure that Michael Bennett is the one that wins that match tonight and gets the title shot. And Morrissey immediately is up in arms. He's like, this is crap. I didn't join this group just to play second fiddle to your husband. I came to be the top guy. And Maria's just like, well, till then, you're going to have to stand in line. It's not my fault that you took the pin in Lethal Lockdown. And Morris is like, well, it's not my fault that you didn't put me in last like I said we should have. Instead, you put your husband in last, and I was the one that took the damage and took the pin. And then they basically order and argue about everything. And Maria's just like, decision is final. We need to make sure that Mike wins tonight because, we will get to decide the stipulation for that title match and, everything will work out in the end. You just have to trust me. Morrissey definitely not, too stoked on having to fall in line with Maria's edict, but we shall see how that ends up later tonight in the main event. Segment rating of 38. We are still going with this storyline. Didn't really want it to end with the Lethal Lockdown. Figured that was kind of early, but I think we still can get some mileage out of this, heel group. And then elsewhere backstage, we have basically Heath and Rhino warming up for their match later tonight. Um, Jake something comes up and they all kind of like congratulate each other and they celebrate. They basically reiterate how Jake won the match for Lethal Lockdown. Gail Kim retains control of Impact and everything stays as it is. And Jake's like, it was an honor tagging with you guys. And he's like, yeah, it's because of you that, Impact's going to stay the way it is. And, if you ever need anyone to watch your back, we'll be there. No problem. No questions asked. You've proven yourself to us that you can hang and, you're cool with us in our book. So they go off getting ready for their match and leaving Jake somewhat validated. Segment rating of 30 for that. we are going to have a new storyline for Jake, which we will probably get a hint on later. Speaking of the, uh, again, I'm reading the results again. We get the Hold, who I'm renaming the team of Eric Young and Damien O'Connor, defeating Slater and Rhino in 9:38. Eric Young pinning Heath. Heath unfortunately sustaining a dislocated hip. I don't know if that'll uh, affect how badly that'll affect him. I don't think I have him planned in anything major from here on out, so that injury shouldn't be bad. But segment 40, decent match, probably our best segment so far in the night. A really kind of disappointing night so far. But basically, um, Eric Young pinning Heath at the end of the match. Afterwards, well, I guess with Heath injured, that makes it even easier that, yeah, thanks, Jeff. That, the two of them, like Heath is basically now injured, laying on the outside. So Eric Young and Damien O'Connor have a 2-on-1 attack on Rhino, which brings out Jake Something, their new buddy. So Jake Something chases off Eric Young and Damien O'Connor, but they just kind of just back off with the damage being done, well, especially now that he's injured. So um, Jake looks like he's going that the new storyline is going to be Jake versus Eric Young and Damien O'Connor. So segment rating of 32 for that. And then we get Gia Miller interviewing the new Impact Tag Team Champions, the 6-time, or I think 5 times, 6 time, no, five was the tie, 6 was the new record. Uh the Wolves, the new champions, they won Ultimate X at Slammiversary, and basically them, thanking the fans, thanking, the Guns for a great match, thanking the fans for sticking by them, even through tough times, and the reformation of the Wolves, you know, basically your typical babyface thanks promo. The storyline's continuing, but it lost heat. So this is a basic promo. But segment ring of 37 for their celebration promo of winning the tag title. And basically they say, they kind of say that they consider themselves the best team in Impact history. So any team, past, present, or future, step up to them, and they will prove why they're the best. So segment rating of 37 for that. Then we get a promo from Lance Archer, basically a pre-tape promo. He's taunting Joe Doring because in his return to Impact, he appeared at Slammiversary and uh, attacked Joe Doring. And Archer basically talks about how, yeah, the Impact World title is his main goal, but before he gets there, he wants to make sure all of the, threatening, all the major threats are not in play. And to him, he sees Joe Doring as his biggest threat. He says Joe Doring thinks he's big and bad because he goes off to Japan and wrestles, but people forget that Lance Archer, he's in Suzuki-gun. He's, and Suzuki doesn't, you know, he doesn't have any jokes in his stable. He only, has like the biggest, toughest, or the toughest, meanest people in his group, and he's one of them, and he's the biggest. So he wants to get Joe Doring out of the way for his eventual uh, rise and return in Impact. Segment of 28, the storyline between Archer and Doring started with that. Kind of disappointing, but that's kind of been the thing this night. This match is decent though. Uh, and this was all almost not booked because this was almost kind of um the angle. The angle was planned, but the match wasn't. The match was kind of to fill time, but uh, whatever. Jordan Grace defeated Tasha Steelz. Uh, these two have had a you know off and on program feud. Call it what you want to against each other. But basically, Savannah Evans botches her interference, hits Tasha again. Instead, Jordan gets the win. Segment rating of 40. Jordan having a in-ring performance of 44, and a reminder that she had the highest performance in Lethal Lockdown. So I figured we would throw her a bone, keep her, give her a match. Like despite the fact that she was in Lethal Lockdown, she still came out on top against Tasha Steelz and her crew. Um, Eventually, at the end of the match, she kind of disposes of all of them, and they just kind of sit and surround the ring until Mercedes Martinez comes out, attacks Jordan Grace, and then eventually Tasha and Savannah Evans and Janai Kai join in. So it's a 4-on-1 uh, attack. Mercedes Martinez seemingly taking order of Tasha Steele's new group now. So, but yeah, now it's Mercedes and Tasha and Savannah and Janai as one group. Hopefully, the addition of Mercedes will uh, turn their fortunes around, but also the fact that Mercedes is targeting Jordan should, hopefully result in uh, some sort of, good match or two or three or whatever. I don't have anything sort of special planned, but segment rank 29 for that. Basically, Mercedes has still been under contract with us and AEW. Um, the only our only real tie with AEW. And it doesn't ever seem like our schedules conflict all that much. So decided to bring her in, use her more often, and she's one of our top women still talent wise, and figured pairing her up with this crew can only do good things for all involved. So segment ring of 29 for that. And then we get a Rosemary promo. Rosemary becoming the new Knockouts champion after defeating Deanna Prato finally at Slammiversary, and basically she kind of reiterates what she had said in her promo before Slammiversary, where she was like, you know, she knows her time is coming. She lost all of her allies. She lost Decay. She lost Taya, and but she knows that her fans, the Hive, if you will, has her back, and it's for them that she is Knockouts champion once again. Basically, another celebratory promo like the one with the Wolves, segment rating of 42. And then we go backstage where Maria, obviously frustrated with having to deal with W. Morrissey and his objections, now has to deal with the bickering of Deanna Prato and Chelsea Green. They blindside her backstage, and they're just like, "Oh, what are you gonna do about this?" Like, Gianna losing the Knockouts title, Chelsea Green losing the digital media title. She's like, both women are just yapping her ears off, and it's like, "What are you gonna do about this? What are you gonna do to make this right? What are you gonna do to get our titles back?" And Maria's like, shut up, both of you." Of course, I can't do a whole lot considering I don't run Impact like I planned, okay? Just get off my back about that. But I'll do what I can, and I'm hearing rumors that there's going to be a battle royal for the number one contender for the Knockouts title. I'll make sure you both get in. You both are probably shoo-ins anyway, so whatever, do with that what you will. And she storms off, and Diana and Chelsea are kind of are, happy until they both realize that they both are going to be vying for the title, the same title shot. You know, the digital media title is not a factor in this. They're both potentially wrangling for a knockouts title shot, and will their friendship pass the test for that. So we'll see what comes about that. Segment ring of 37. And then we go elsewhere backstage. We see Jeff Jarrett kind of hanging out, and he is approached by Josh Alexander, the Impact World Champion. And Josh is like, I know you came back. Personally, I'm glad you came back. I'm glad, Jeff Jarrett is back in the house that he built, but, I'm here to keep that house standing. And, you know, I know why you did what you did, but I want to make it known that you did not need to do what you did to Scott D'Amore. I had that situation firmly in hand. That's a personal situation. You did not need to lay him out with a guitar. You did not need to do what you did. And Jeff is like, well, yeah, I know, but I didn't do that for you. I did that for me, and I did that for Impact because like I said, when you're out there, you can't half-ass Impact. You got to make a choice, and D'Amore, wanted to straddle that line. He wanted to be with Impact and NXT, and that just can't happen. That's a conflict of interest. If you want to be an Impact, you gotta be an Impact all the way. And that's what separates people like me and like you from people like Scott D'Amore and people like Samoa Joe. People who want to go off for supposedly greener pastures instead of, you know, raising Impact up. And Josh, understands, but he's like, still, that was a personal situation that was, meant to deal. I meant to deal with Scott D'Amore on my own, but I, you know, whatever. He's like, what's done is done. Water under the bridge, and then basically the two men shake on it and kind of bury the hatchet. So Impact World Champions Josh Alexander and Jeff Jarrett on the same page. We shall see how long that lasts. Segment rating of 41. And then we go to our main event, uh, our second chance dream match main event. W. Morrissey versus Michael Bennett versus PCO versus Jonathan Gresham. Reminder: the winner of the match, will not only get a title shot against Josh Alexander at Against All Odds, but they will get to choose the stipulation. And it's a decent match. This is a poor match. Segment rate 39. But um basically after all is said and done, we get Morrissey planning Jonathan Gresham with a big power move, likely a power bomb, and definitely thinking about making the final pin. He's definitely got the all clear. Michael Bennett and PCO are out at ringside. He thinks about pinning it, but he hesitates long enough for PCO to run in and basically eliminate himself and Morrissey with a top rope or over the top rope clothesline, sending them tumbling outside. Eventually, Mike Bennett slides in, gets the pin on Gresham off of Morrissey's power bomb. So it's Michael Bennett getting the title shot against Josh Alexander, just like Maria Kanellis wanted. Um, Segment rank 39. Match was a little too long. Yeah, that's my kind of my fault again. I didn't, like I said, this is a angle heavy show. Um, Not a lot of match time, so I kind of bumped this one up. Um, Gresham with a name ring performance of 46. Bennett with 39. Morrissey 34. PCO 27. Um, this is kind of that kind of weird that Gresham had the best performance despite kind of taking the loss here, but whatever. Michael Bennett, the plan coming to fruition, despite maybe what Morrissey would like for himself, but Maria's plan, uh, Michael Bennett getting the title shot at Against All Odds, segment rating of 39. And then we end the show with a Samoa Joe promo. Basically, this is our send off for Samoa Joe. Thankfully, giving us a 61 rating on the way out, bumping up this show because Lord knows we could have used it. But basically, Samoa Joe saying, it's like, I know I came into Slammiversary, you know, saying all these things about Impact and how not as good as it used to be and blah blah blah. But after being in the ring with someone like Josh Alexander and knowing that he can hang, you know, I have no problem with saying that Impact. You know, I hope that Impact keeps trucking along. It's been trucking along 20 years. Maybe it'll truck along another 20 more. And who knows? Maybe someday we'll see him back in an Impact ring again. Who knows? So basically this is just kind of a send off for Samoa Joe while we have him, and again an excuse to bump up the show numbers a little bit. Uh, so yeah, that was our show. Overall rating of 47. Very somewhat average show. Nothing really standing out other than that Samoa Joe promo. That Samoa Joe promo might be like our newest best segment ever. So pretend he said something really profound. So yeah, we are heading towards Against All Odds. We are starting new storylines. Um, and things are sort of falling into place. So, yeah, join me for these next couple of episodes. Like I said, after Against All Odds, I probably will be taking a break. So we'll, hopefully be in a good spot to figure out what's coming in the future. So yeah, thanks for tuning in.